Picture this. Chicago, 1940s. Saturday night. While the city sleeps, a single light burns in Southside Alliance Church. A small man in rumpled clothes kneels on the sanctuary floor. His face is buried in the carpet. He's been there for hours. His knees ache, his back screams, but he doesn't move. He's wrestling with God. Not wrestling like Jacob at Peniel. Wrestling like a man desperate to hear heaven's voice before Sunday morning. Like a man who refuses to preach unless God has first spoken to him. 3 hours pass. Sometimes he's on the couch, then the floor, then his face pressed into the rough carpet fibers, tears mixing with dust. This isn't occasional. This is every Saturday night. This is the man who would change evangelical Christianity forever. The man whose books would sell millions, but only after his death. The man who gave away his royalties to the poor, who never owned a car, who chose the invisible over the visible, again and again and again. His name was A.W. Tozer, and this is the untold story of how a 6th grade dropout from rural Pennsylvania became the conscience of 20th century Christianity. What could drive a man to spend 3 hours face down on a church floor every single week? What did he discover in that carpet-scratching communion that we've lost? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll understand why his daughter said at his funeral, "I can't feel sad. I know Dad's happy. He's lived for this all his life." April 21st, 1897, Western Pennsylvania. Aiden Wilson Tozer enters a world of grinding poverty. His childhood? Imagine winters where cold seeps through floorboards, summers working instead of playing, and school? Barely made it to 6th grade. At 15, his family moves to Akron, Ohio, chasing work, chasing survival. Young Tozer finds a job, works his hands raw, comes home exhausted every night. He has no idea his entire destiny is about to pivot on a street corner. The year is 1915. Tozer is 17 years old, walking home from work, tired, dirty. Another day, another dollar. Then he hears it, a street preacher, standing on a box, voice cutting through the noise of horse carriages and factory whistles.
"If you don't know how to be saved, just call on God. Be merciful to me, a sinner." That's it. Simple words. No theological complexity. No religious jargon.
And Tozer, he doesn't stop to listen, doesn't argue, doesn't ask questions. He goes straight home. He climbs the stairs to the attic, gets on his knees, right there among the dust and forgotten boxes, surrounded by poverty and simplicity. Aiden Wilson Tozer meets God. No choir, no altar call, no emotional manipulation, just a teenage boy kneeling in an attic, calling on God. And God answers. Here's what makes this moment revolutionary. Tozer will spend the rest of his life teaching that this is exactly how it works. Years later, he'll write,
"The reason why many are still troubled, still seeking, still making little forward progress, is because they haven't yet come to the end of themselves. We're still trying to give orders and interfering with God's work within us."
That attic conversion? That was Tozer coming to the end of himself. Everything that follows, the books, the sermons, the spiritual depth that would influence millions, it all traces back to this moment. A poor kid on his knees in an attic, completely surrendered. What happens next surprises everyone, especially Tozer himself. He becomes consumed, not with making money, not with climbing social ladders, with knowing God. He starts reading, not just reading, devouring. The Bible, yes, but also theology, philosophy, church history, the mystics. Remember, this is a 6th grade dropout, self-taught. Every spare moment, he's reading. Bernard of Clairvaux, Julian of Norwich, the Puritans, the Church Fathers. His friends think he's crazy. Why isn't he chasing girls, chasing success, chasing the American dream? Because Tozer has tasted something infinitely better. It's the early 1920s. Tozer gets ordained as a minister. It's official. He's a pastor now. After the ceremony, while everyone's celebrating, congratulating, making small talk, Tozer slips away. He walks into the woods, alone, and there, surrounded by trees, With no witnesses but heaven, he prays a prayer that will haunt him and bless him for the rest of his life.
Give me a vision to see and courage to report what I see faithfully. Make my voice so like thine own that even the sick sheep will recognize and follow thee.
Stop. Read that again. He prayed to become a minor prophet, not a major one, not famous, not celebrated, just faithful, just true, just God's mouthpiece to a church that had lost its way. You want to know something? God answered that prayer. Boy, did he answer it. But the answer would cost Tozer everything comfortable, everything easy, everything the masses chase. It's 1928. Southside Alliance Church in Chicago, 80 people in the pews. That's it. 80. The new pastor walks in. He's not impressive. Short, not fashionable. Not a dynamic speaker in the conventional sense. The congregation wonders, who is this guy? Then he opens his mouth, and something happens. The words aren't flowery. The delivery isn't theatrical. But the content, the depth, the spiritual weight, it's like drinking from a fire hydrant after years of sipping from puddles. He's not telling them how to be successful, not promising health and wealth, not entertaining them. He's showing them God, the real God, holy, awesome, transcendent, the God who makes humans tremble and angels cover their faces. He declares,
What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us.
And people hungry for depth in a shallow religious landscape, they start coming, and coming, and coming. 11 years later, by 1939, they need a new building. Not for 80 people, for 800, 10 times the growth. But here's the secret. Tozer hasn't changed his approach one bit. No gimmicks, no entertainment, no compromises. Just 3 things. Prayer, study proclamation. Let me show you what that looked like. Every morning, Tozer arrives at his office early, very early, before the sun, before the city wakes. He changes into old pants, doesn't want to wrinkle his slacks. Then he starts praying. Not quick prayers, not bless this day prayers. We're talking 3-hour prayer sessions, starting on the couch, moving to the floor, face buried in the carpet. His congregation doesn't see this, his critics don't see this, the world doesn't see this, but God sees it. And that secret place, that carpet-scratching, knee-bruising, hour-consuming secret place, that's where Tozer's power comes from. He's living what he teaches.
Always the most revealing thing about the church is her idea of God, just as her most significant message is what she says about him or leaves unsaid, for her silence is often more eloquent than her speech.
But there's a cost. There's always a cost. His name is Ada Cecilia Fouts. She becomes Ada Tozer in 1918. She marries a man consumed with God, a man whose heart is always reaching toward heaven, a man who will choose the prayer closet over the living room, the pulpit over the park, the invisible over the visible. What's that like for a wife? Imagine being married to someone whose first love isn't you, whose passion isn't your relationship, whose mind is always elsewhere, always reaching for something, someone you can't compete with. Ada knows ministry. She's a pastor's wife. She supports the calling. But there's a loneliness in their home that no theology can quite explain away. Tozer's children grow up with a father whose body is present, but whose spirit is perpetually kneeling in that prayer closet. They have a dad who can explain the attributes of God better than anyone in America, but who struggles to simply be with them. At his funeral, his daughter will say something that sounds like praise.
I can't feel sad. I know Dad's happy. He's lived for this all his life.
But listen to what she's really saying.
He's lived for this all his life. Not for us, not for family dinners and bedtime stories and simple presents.
For this, for God, for the presence he's finally, fully entering. Is that beautiful, or tragic, or both? Tozer himself teaches,
The reason why many are still troubled, still seeking, still making little forward progress, is because they haven't yet come to the end of themselves. we're still trying to give orders and interfering with God's work within us.
But what about when coming to the end of yourself means your family comes to the end of having you? This is the tension we don't talk about, the cost we don't count. Tozer is proving his own difficult truth. Choosing the invisible over the visible comes with a price tag. And sometimes, the people we love are the ones who pay it. While Tozer is praying 3 hours on Saturday nights, something else is happening in American Christianity. Entertainment, programs, growth strategies. Bigger, better, more. Church becomes circus. Worship becomes performance. And Tozer is furious. He starts writing, preaching, denouncing.
The masses are always wrong. In every generation, the number of the righteous is small. Be sure you are among them.
Ouch. You can imagine how that goes over. Critics emerge. Fellow evangelical leaders whisper.
Too mystical, too negative, too critical, too much.
They're building megachurches. Tozer's talking about mystics and contemplative prayer. They're creating programs. Tozer's quoting Julian of Norwich and Bernard of Clairvaux. They want relevant. Tozer wants holy. He doubles down, uses his editorials in the Alliance Weekly to fire prophetic broadsides. He warns,
I can safely say, on the authority of all that is revealed in the Word of God, that any man or woman on this earth who is bored and turned off by worship is not ready for heaven.
Translation: your entertainment-driven Christianity is preparing you for hell, not heaven. The evangelical establishment is not amused, but Tozer doesn't care. He can't care because he prayed that prayer in the woods. Remember, give me courage to report what I see faithfully. He's seeing a church that has forgotten how to worship, a church that knows God's benefits but not God's character, a church that wants God's hand but not God's face. And he's reporting it, faithfully, no matter who it offends. He declares,
We cannot grasp the true meaning of the divine holiness by thinking of someone or something very pure, and then raising the concept to the highest degree we are capable of. God's holiness is not simply the best we know, infinitely bettered. We know nothing like the divine holiness. It stands apart, unique, unapproachable, incomprehensible, and unattainable.
this is revolutionary. This is terrifying. This is exactly what the church needs to hear. The year 1948. Tozer boards an overnight train. He's exhausted. The ministry grind, the criticism, the weight of carrying a prophetic message nobody wants to hear. He has 3 things with him: a Bible, a notebook, a pencil. That's it. No laptop, no research materials, no notes prepared beforehand, just God's Word, blank pages, and a man who has spent decades in the prayer closet. Something happens on that train journey. Tozer starts writing, and he can't stop. The words pour out like they've been building for years, like every prayer, every tear, every hour on the carpet is suddenly crystallizing into sentences. He's writing about pursuing God. Not theology about God, not doctrine about God. Actual pursuit, actual hunger, actual intimacy. By the time the train reaches its destination, he has written what will become the Pursuit of God. It becomes an instant classic. A devotional masterpiece. Millions of copies sold, though most of those sales will come after Tozer's death. The opening lines set the tone. This is a book written by a man who knows God, inviting you to know God too. Not know about, know, pursue, experience. This book is Tozer's heart on paper. It's decades of prayer closet discoveries offered to anyone hungry enough to read. And here's what makes it revolutionary. Tozer's saying you don't need seminary, don't need degrees, don't need special calling. You just need to do what he did in that attic when he was 17. Get on your knees, call on God, come to the end of yourself. In 1950, Tozer becomes editor of the Alliance Weekly. Suddenly, his prophetic voice has a national platform. Just 1 year later, in 1951, he starts a weekly radio broadcast. Now his voice literally travels across the nation. He's in his 50s now, spent decades in Chicago, built a church, written books, influenced thousands, but he's still riding the bus. Still wearing rumpled clothes, still refusing every comfortable compromise. People offer him money, prestige, better positions. He signs his book royalties away to the poor. Why? Because he means what he says.
Go back to the grassroots, open your hearts and search the scriptures. Bear your cross, follow your Lord, and pay no heed to the passing religious vogue.
The passing religious vogue in America is prosperity, comfort, success. Tozer is preaching poverty of spirit, death to self, radical devotion. He's out of step with his time, perfectly in step with eternity. The year 1959. After 31 years at Southside Alliance Church, Tozer does something unexpected. He moves to Toronto, takes a position at Avenue Road Alliance Church, also teaches at a small Bible college. He's in his 60s now. This could be his victory lap, his comfortable retirement, his reward for decades of faithful service. Instead, he teaches, preaches, prays, same rhythm, same intensity. 2 years later, in 1961, he publishes The Knowledge of the Holy. If the pursuit of God is about chasing God's presence, the knowledge of the holy is about understanding God's character. It's a meditation on God's attributes: holiness, goodness, justice, mercy, transcendence. It's Tozer's direct assault on the shallow, casual, buddy Jesus theology invading the church. He writes with a surgeon's precision and a prophet's fire. This book becomes his second masterpiece. Together with The Pursuit of God, these two books will shape evangelical spirituality for generations. But in 1961, Tozer doesn't know that. He's just teaching, just writing, just faithful. Still that young man in the woods, praying.
Make my voice so like thine own that even the sick sheep will recognize and follow thee.
May 12th, 1963. A hospital room in Toronto. Aidan Wilson Tozer is dying. He's 66 years old, spent 44 years in ministry, written dozens of books and articles, influenced thousands through sermons and radio broadcasts. But the broader world, they barely know his name. No fame, no fortune, no recognition. Just a life spent pursuing the invisible. The funeral is simple. Not many people. No media coverage. No celebrity mourners. His daughter stands and says words that will echo forever.
I can't feel sad. I know Dad's happy. He's lived for this all his life.
Really hear that? He lived his entire life for the moment he's now experiencing. The moment he steps into the presence he's pursued since that attic conversion at 17. Every prayer, every sermon, every book, every sacrifice, all for this. To finally see face to face the God he's only known through a glass darkly. Tozer taught, we are saved to worship God. All that Christ has done leads to this one end. And now he's worshiping without distraction, without struggle, without the weight of flesh and time. They bury him back in Akron, Ohio. Full circle, back where his journey began. The gravestone reads simply, A. W. Tozer, a man of God. That's it. No achievements listed, no titles, no degrees, just a man of God. Could there be a better epitaph? Could there be higher praise? Here's the irony that would make Tozer laugh, or maybe weep. His books explode in popularity after his death. Millions of copies sold, translated into dozens of languages, audio recordings distributed worldwide. The man who gave away royalties in life becomes a best-selling author in death. The man who preached to hundreds reaches millions through print. The man who chose obscurity becomes regarded as a 20th-century prophet and evangelical mystic. New generations discover him. Young pastors read him, worship leaders quote him, seekers find him, and they hear his voice, still prophetic, still challenging, still true, calling them back to the ancient paths. What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. The masses are always wrong. In every generation, the number of the righteous is small. Be sure you are among them. Go back to the grassroots. Open your hearts and search the scriptures. Bear your cross, follow your Lord, and pay no heed to the passing religious vogue. The passing religious vogue changes every decade. Fashion changes. Trends change. Tozer's message doesn't change. Because truth doesn't change, God doesn't change, and the call to abandon everything for the pursuit of knowing Him? That call echoes through every generation. Tozer had no education, no money, no platform, just a willingness to kneel in an attic and surrender everything. He chose the invisible over the visible, spending Saturday nights face down on carpet while the world slept, pursuing God with desperate hunger. Comment with "I will pursue God" below if you are ready to pursue God above everything comfortable and convenient. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. Like and subscribe to Cloud of Witnesses for more life-changing stories of faith that will equip you to boldly fulfill the call of God in your life. This week, set aside one uninterrupted hour each Saturday night for prayer alone with God. No phone, no agenda. Just you and Him wrestling until breakthrough comes. Journal what He reveals about pursuing His presence over everything else. But if Tozer challenged you to choose the invisible, meet Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who chose the impossible. What if a brilliant theologian safe in America sailed back into Nazi Germany knowing it would cost him everything? What if a pacifist pastor joined a plot to assassinate Hitler? What if the man who wrote about costly grace paid the ultimate price on a concentration camp gallows? When does faith demand you stop bandaging victims and start jamming spokes in the wheel of evil? Check out this next video to discover how a comfort-fleeing pastor became a Nazi-resisting martyr, the cost of discipleship that transforms comfortable Christianity, and why silence in the face of evil makes you complicit in its advance.